Don't miss KLFY's 10 for 10 night Thursday at the Cajun Heartland State Fair.
The following program is closed captioned for the hearing impaired.
From the heart of Acadiana, this is TV 10 Eyewitness News, the 10 o'clock report.
Hello, Acadiana. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Residents along Detente Road outside Youngsville were on hand at the Lafayette Parish Council meeting tonight. They voiced opposition to a shelter for ex-convicts and the homeless in their neighborhood.
The group came hoping for swift action. Instead, they were told the council was powerless to act because the proposed shelter is in Vermilion and not Lafayette Parish.
But as Chuck Huebner reports, the residents still came away from the meeting with a small victory.
Fear is an important factor here. I can feel it.
Rick Templeton with the Prison Fellowship Ministries hit the nail on the head. The people of Detente Road outside of Youngsville are scared that their neighbors, the A-Bears, are about to set up a shelter for ex-convicts and the homeless that could put their lives and property at risk. To make matters worse, there is nothing local government can do to prevent it from happening.
I am powerless to do anything to stop it, and I understand it, but I can speak it. And I am saying to you, and I'm saying to the A-Bears, that we would like to have that commitment, that if we can't reach agreement amongst this small community of people, many of them family members, then we shouldn't proceed forward.
In the spirit of cooperation, the A-Bears have agreed to the use of a professional arbitrator from Templeton and the Fellowship Ministries that will attempt to clear the air about neighbors' fears and the A-Bears' plans. It was not the action these people had been hoping for, but it was at least a step in the right direction, since the A-Bears have agreed to hold off on the shelter until the arbitrator is brought in.
And I think we took a positive step here tonight. I really think this is the way to go.
Both the A-Bears and their neighbors on Detente Road leave this meeting as winners of sorts. The neighbors have won a delay on the shelter's opening, and the A-Bears, although agreeing to a delay, still have their shelter plans well in place. With luck and the help of a mediator, both sides will be able to agree on a compromise that both sides can live with. In Lafayette, Chuck Huebner for KLFY-TV, Acadiana's news leader.
Was the 5-year battle fought by a Lafayette Parish school teacher a question of tenure or of unacceptable teaching methods?
Darla Montgomery brings us up to date in this report.
As we reported last week, the state Supreme Court handed back Bernadette Rubin's job by agreeing with the decision of a district court judge. The Lafayette Parish School Board fired Rubin in 1990 over allegations that she was sexually explicit in teaching 7th graders the human aspects of science. Rubin took the board to court, but her attorney, J. Isaac Funderburg, says it was not over the criticism of her teaching job performance.
This is not so much a sex education case. It never has been. It's always been a teacher tenure law case. After the hearing was completed, that the school board had made a reversible error in the manner in which it had handled the case.
Rubin's legal victory carries with it reinstatement, 5 years of back pay and benefits, and, as she tells us, personal satisfaction.
I'm just so thrilled. I can't really put it into words that all of this is behind us, and finally the healing process can begin. And I'm just looking forward to going back to work. Where, I don't know just yet, but I will be going back, and I'm excited about that too.
And what does this outcome mean for future teachers in the local system?
We probably would have to discipline that person also for not following the procedures. We will continue to operate within the guidelines of the state, what the state suggests, and of course, as I said, what the board has approved.
No date has yet been set for Bernadette Rubin's return to the classroom. Darla Montgomery, TV 10 News, Acadiana's news leader.
A well-known Lafayette restaurant reached a major milestone tonight, and because of that, hundreds of students throughout the country will benefit from a quality education. Ruth Fertel opened the first Ruth's Chris Steakhouse in New Orleans 30 years ago tonight, and her restaurants throughout the country celebrated with a benefit for the Horatio Alger Society. The Ruth's Chris on Pinhook was jam-packed with well-wishers. We spoke tonight with one of the recipients.
The scholarship is helping me go to college, and it's just been a whole lot of things. It's opening new doors for me and new experiences that I hope to enjoy.
Ruth herself has started a new fund because of this. She has started a guaranteed $150,000 scholarship fund for Horatio Alger. So this is going to be a big plus for the Horatio Alger Society.
And tonight's nationwide benefit is expected to raise more than $150,000 in scholarship award money for young students.
A festive fundraiser at the Hotel Acadiana tonight to benefit the Lafayette Big Brothers Big Sisters organization. Each year the group roasts a community leader, and this year the good sport was Lafayette General Medical Center Administrator J.J. Burden. Big Brothers Big Sisters is a United Way organization that matches children from single-parent families with adult role models.
Coming up on Eyewitness News, questions over a proposed Acadiana Community College system.
And charges are brought against the man accused in the most recent White House shooting incident.
TV 10 Eyewitness News with Blue Rolfus and Hoyt Harris. Weather with meteorologist Ron Perillo, and sports with Mike Robot. You're watching TV 10 Eyewitness News, Acadiana's news leader.
The man who jumped the White House fence last night, as it turns out, is the grandson of a prominent Baton Rouge attorney, the late E. Leland Richardson. And Leland Majeski's mother still lives in Baton Rouge. Today, federal prosecutors brought assault and firearms charges against Majeski. The update in tonight's World Wrap.
37-year-old Leland Majeski was charged today with assault and firearms offenses. He remains hospitalized tonight after being shot during last night's incident when he jumped the White House fence and ran toward the mansion with a pistol. He's charged with 2 counts of forcibly assaulting a federal officer and the interstate transport of a firearm with intent to commit a felony. On all counts, he faces a total of 30 years in prison. Is the Federal Aviation Administration doing all it can to ensure aircraft safety? A Senate Oversight Subcommittee is holding hearings on bogus aircraft parts and their potential risks. Subcommittee Chair Bill Cohen says the FAA is failing in efforts to curb the use of unauthorized parts by the nation's airlines. A powerful bomb exploded in front of a luxury hotel in Lima, Peru today, killing 4 people and wounding 15 others. Police suspect the Maoist Shining Path guerrillas who've been waging war on the government since 1980. Trying to recreate the death of 2 little boys, investigators in Union County, South Carolina, rolled Susan Smith's car into John D. Long Lake today. A video camera was mounted in the car to show what her 2 young sons saw last October when Smith killed her boys by driving her 1990 Mazda into the lake. Prosecutors want to use the tape at Smith's trial not only to make clear what happened, but also to persuade the jury to give Smith the death sentence.
And in other news tonight, Hollywood madam Heidi Fleiss is free on bail after a Los Angeles judge sentenced her to 3 years in prison for pandering. Fleiss's attorneys, though, say they intend to appeal her conviction, saying the mandatory prison sentence is unconstitutional. Well, stocks closed mixed on Wall Street today as investors fear too much growth will lead to a recession. The Dow closed up slightly at 4436. 365 million shares were traded. Now, on the energy markets, crude oil for July delivery closed down 36 cents at $19.41 a barrel. July natural gas fell to $1.81.
Tomorrow morning, a state Senate committee is set to hear a proposal to convert 3 Acadiana vocational schools into a community college system. The House has already passed that measure. But one Acadiana senator says he has some problems with the bill, and local NAACP members say the proposed name, Acadiana Community College, excludes African Americans. More on that story and others featured on earlier editions of Eyewitness News today. The community college bill has raised questions from Senator Don Cravens of Lafayette, who says he's worried about preserving the integrity of vocational technical schools and protecting their employees. Senator Cravens says there should have been a comprehensive plan to address concerns of VOTEC employees and students, but he also says he probably will support the bill. A trial date has been set for an Opelousas man accused of hiring someone to kill his wife. 46-year-old Joey Paul Smith will be tried for first-degree murder in connection with the shooting death of his second wife, Sheila Lemoyne Smith, on June 5th. Meanwhile, Smith's former mother-in-law, Patricia Winders, has filed a wrongful death lawsuit alleging Smith murdered her daughter, Angela Pitt Smith. Smith has not been charged in Angela's death. Vermilion Parish Sheriff Ray Lemaire announced he will once again vie for the position, seeking a 5th term in office. Lemaire says after years of hard work, the Vermilion Parish Sheriff's Office is on its feet and prides itself on reducing crime throughout the area. Sheriff Lemaire is the first to announce his candidacy for the race.
Lafayette Parish officials are hoping the state will chip in to prevent future flooding problems.
And Rob takes a look at the hurricane forecast for this season.
But right now, let's take another look at tonight's Powerball numbers.
Some questions tonight about who will be footing the bill for Lafayette Parish's portion of a $3.5 million study the Army Corps of Engineers intends to conduct on flooding problems along the Vermilion River. Parish President Walter Como says the state was committed to pay the parish's half of the study, but for some reason the $1.8 million appropriated for the project has been removed from the upcoming budget. Como says he's concerned, but it's too early to panic.
I'm still optimistic. I think that the state wants to see it done. I think that they want to help us. And there may be some other reasons why the monies were pulled, but I tend to believe that it's just simply a matter of the timing and perhaps someone feeling that being that the report had not come out as yet, that it wasn't necessary.
Como says if the state does refuse to fund the project, he'll push for the study anyway.
In TV 10's Hurricane Series Against the Wind, this week Rob and Bob have showed us that preparedness and early evacuation are the keys to weathering the storm.
And we are reminded how vulnerable Acadiana is to the hurricane's wrath. And with the beginning of hurricane season just 1 week away, it's time for a look ahead. Right, Rob?
That is correct, and we're going to show you some of the graphics and unfortunately some sobering numbers. First off, let's go ahead and look at this. We plotted up all the hurricanes that have ever hit Louisiana on record from 1886 through 1994. It looks like bees invading Louisiana. And notice how far some of the hurricanes last before they're even downgraded to tropical storms. And that's one of the things that we look at, again, with some of the heavier storms on how far to the north they do move in. And look at Acadiana, not void of any hurricane activity during this 108-year time frame. This is 34 hurricanes plotted up. And more importantly, again, if we look at the long-term average with respect to the hurricanes, again, this is the numbers that we look at. Again, one storm every 3.2 years. That's our average. One hurricane hitting the Louisiana coast once every 3.2 years. 45% of all the storms that have ever hit Louisiana are Category 3 or higher, so they're major storms half of the times. Tropical storm every 2.5 years. Now, it's been very quiet in the Gulf of Mexico, and again, for Louisiana over the past several years, the last hurricane being Andrew to be in the Gulf. Last one, only last 5 years, only hurricane in the northern Gulf. Last time we only had one hurricane in the Gulf in 6 years, never. So if you look at that and take a look at the statistics, it says there will be about a 90% chance that there will be a hurricane in the Gulf this year. We're not saying it's going to be hitting Louisiana, but there's an excellent chance we'll see at least one hurricane in the Gulf. Now, if we take a look at the forecast coming up for this coming year and put the big picture in motion, Dr. Gray out of Colorado State looks at a number of things. The El Nino phenomenon, that usually keeps thunderstorms and tropical systems at bay across a good part of the Caribbean Gulf of Mexico. Well, that El Nino phenomenon is diminishing. We look at sea level pressures around the Caribbean. If they're lower than normal, which they are right now, that sometimes is a precursor to hurricane activity. Then we look over at Africa, where the rainfall and the tropical waves move off the African coast. They've been in a drought the last 20 years, but the trend is changing, and it looks like it's going to be an active, increasingly active hurricane season and seasons to come. Now, if we take a look again at some of the numbers that we're looking at, these are the named storms. We usually average 9.3 in the Gulf, the Caribbean, and the Atlantic. The forecast is for 10. For hurricanes, 5.7 the average. We're going for about 6 this year. Now, this forecast will be updated in about a week at the cusp of the hurricane season. Intense hurricanes, Category 3 or larger, usually about 2 is the average. 3 is the forecast for this year. And hurricane destruction potential, indicating on how strong those storms are. Again, close to the point where it's going to be a little bit above normal with respect to the season. So with these numbers in mind, it looks like there's going to be a very good chance of a hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico. And on average, we look at our chances of getting hit by a hurricane each and every year at about 31-32%. And when we say a 30% chance of rain, usually every other day we get some showers. So again, this could be the year that we need to be on guard.
It's been such an interesting series. We've really enjoyed the warning, sort of, you know, as to what we need to do to be prepared.
Right. We don't need to want to be a doomsayer, but again, we have a history built in of hurricane activity, and it will continue, and it looks like the years ahead are going to be busier.
And as you said the other night, be prepared is the key always,
exactly,
right?
Exactly. Bottom line. Anyway, the weather quiet right now. We're going to take a look at the forecast on the big holiday weekend coming up.
all quiet outside right now, but looks like things may be heating up in the next couple of days.
Yeah, not only that, the threat of showers back into the forecast as we've been indicating. In fact, we are actually picking up some healthy shower activity out across the basin. Today, a warm one, 88 the high, mid-60s the low, but pretty close to what we normally expect for this time of year. Overnight lows, though, over the next several nights are going to be closer to 70 or the lower 70s. So that's one change. Daytime highs will continue to persist in the upper 80s. Now, out there right now, 78, the dew point at 72. Humidity at 82%. Southwesterly winds at about 6. A rising barometer. Fair to partly cloudy skies area-wide and statewide for that matter, with everybody reporting temperatures in the 70s. But we do have some action on the Doppler. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. And again, we're seeing some thunder shower activity out in the basin, pretty much where we left you at 6 o'clock. We put things in motion. We've seen some activity around the Catahoula Parks area to around Breaux Bridge. Activities moving off to the north and northwest slowly at about 5 to 10 and will more than likely diminish over the next couple hours. But nonetheless, the atmosphere, the high pressure aloft is starting to weaken somewhat. That's a little bit of a hint of things to come. Now, if we put the satellite imagery in motion, we see generally the same pattern. Big ridge of high pressure from Bermuda all the way down through the Gulf of Mexico, upper level low back in the west, and the conduit between the high and the low. Again, a southwesterly flow aloft, and once again, severe weather across parts of Texas and Oklahoma, and some very heavy rains through the Mississippi River Valley. Now, coming back and taking a look at the radar, we do see, again, some weather watch areas in effect, and you basically can pick out where the frontal boundary is, and we'll just go ahead and overlay the surface features. And again, this front hasn't moved a whole lot, and additional parcels of energy continue to ride along the front and in the upper parts of the atmosphere, and that's creating most of the thunderstorms. The high-pressure system that's been dominating our weather is slowly going to weaken over the next couple of days, so we're going to introduce the outside chances of a shower or two. Otherwise, a little change with partly cloudy skies. Again, most of the action off to the north or to the west of us over the next couple of days, but it looks like as the weekend gets here, unfortunately, a slightly better chance of showers and thunderstorms, mainly afternoon thunder bumpers, although some of the thunderstorms could be quite potent if they do emanate from the north and west. Then it looks like Monday and Tuesday and next week an even better chance of showers and thunderstorms. The forecast for the immediate future offshore, choppy and protected waters, southeasterly winds at about 15. Seas going to be running about 3 to 5. Inland for tonight, fair and mild. Some patchy fog, the overnight low about 70. Rain chance, your chance of getting wet at about 10%. Lafayette may get clipped by that shower. And then for tomorrow, partly cloudy and warm and humid, 89 the high. Rain chance at about 20%. Mainly those afternoon garden variety showers and a few thunderstorms. Then for tomorrow night, down to about 70, once again, the overnight low. So we'll be seeing a few more showers over the next couple of days. You may want to get that umbrella ready, but you probably won't use it until the weekend.
It's always ready.
Okay, good. Thanks a lot, Rob. Coming up next in sports, Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals is the Battle of the Texans.
And in Oklahoma City, the Lady Cajuns are getting a little R-E-S-P-E-C-T. By this time tomorrow night, will the Lady Cajuns be victorious as they play in that first game of the College World Series of softball? Let's hope so.
I think they will, Hoyt, but they're probably not having a good night of sleep tonight worrying about it because it's a little different situation this year.
A little
from
insomnia.
1993, yeah. At the College World Series in 1993, the Lady Cajuns were an unknown commodity. It was their first appearance in Oklahoma City, and they finished a surprising third. But this year, the Cajuns come in as the #3 team in the nation, and as Mike Roebuck tells us in this report, the Cajuns are an endangered species.
2 years ago, the Lady Cajuns came to ASA Hall of Fame Stadium's relative unknowns, a #6 seed. In 1995, they'll be considered one of the tournament favorites.
We've become everyone's target in the last couple of years, but you're right. This will be no surprise. I think we're expected to win tomorrow night, unlike last time when Northridge was expected to win. And, you know, I have a feeling that we'll be the favorite again because both Oklahoma State and Oklahoma didn't make it in. And the crowd has been, I know that the town and the people running this thing have been waiting for us to come back. So hopefully the people from Lafayette will show up also.
Pressure, there's always pressure, of course, but I think we like that, you know. I think that's just an added advantage, but we just got to play our game.
Oklahoma City, ASA Hall of Fame Stadium. For senior Tiffany Whittall, it's a chance to end her career where it all started back in her hometown.
This is it. Matter of fact, it hit me last night. I got to thinking I have 5 days left, and so very emotional time for me, especially the fact that I get to play at home in the last World Series in Oklahoma City. So it's really neat. Couldn't end a career any better.
Just 5 days left in the Lady Cajun season for 1995. The title march begins Thursday at 6 o'clock versus the University of Michigan.
Thank you, Mike Roebuck, reporting from Oklahoma City. Now let's take a moment to thank our sponsor of Lady Cajun Softball.
Coverage of the World Series is brought to you in part by Iberia Savings Bank.
To college baseball now, and for the first time since 1989, the LSU Tigers don't enter the NCAA Regionals as the top seed. That's because the #1 team in the country was seeded #1 at the South Regional in Baton Rouge. Let's take a look at tomorrow's lineup. First game of the day at 11 a.m., the #1 team in the country, the Cal State Fullerton Titans. They'll take on Northeast Louisiana at 11 o'clock. Game 2 will match the Rice Owls and the Dukes of James Madison at 3 o'clock. And in the final game, the Tigers take the field. They'll face Central Michigan. First pitch is set for 7:30. Turning to the NBA playoffs now, Rockets and Spurs. Spurs trail 1-0 in the Western Conference Final, and at home it was a must-win for San Antonio. Almost 30-96. Now let's catch you up on all the scores from the NHL playoffs and the Major League. Coming up after the break, I'll tell you one of the most unusual stories I've ever heard in sports. Stay with us. And finally tonight, now this is a bizarre story. The Ottawa Rough Riders at the Canadian Football League drafted a 6'6" defensive end in the 4th round of the recent dispersal draft of players from the defunct Las Vegas franchise. Now that's not that unusual, but what is unusual is that Darrell Robertson from Mississippi State is dead. He was killed in a car accident 6 months ago, and word never got back to the Rough Riders, and the league officials didn't even know. That's a strange story, Hoyt, but something that's even more bizarre. The TV10 Hurricanes, our company softball team, won their first game tonight, 6-5, and I think they won because I wasn't there.
Will wonders never cease? Hey, now we know. Thank you. We'll be back. And that's going to do it for 10 o'clock. Thanks a lot for joining us.
We'll see you tomorrow. Good night.